Welcome to Walks with Moss. We are not in the rainforest today. We are on the Cowiche Canyon Trail just outside of Yakima. This is a gorgeous canyon hike with beautiful columnar basalt everywhere and just all kinds of interesting things that I don't see in my home biome. This, I think, is used to grow hops. Not entirely sure though. There's some gorgeous yellow lichens here at the base of these sumac trees. But yellow lichens like that mean there's some sort of source of nitrogen pollution, maybe from the adjacent farmland. Another plant we have here is a currant plant. And this trail is just lined with sumac trees. I think these are birch trees, something we don't see in Western Washington. Washington State's divided in half. Western Washington on the ocean side and Eastern Washington on the other side of the Cascade Mountains. And the Cascade Mountains stop rain from reaching Eastern Washington. So Eastern Washington is pretty dry and deserty. There's some beaver work there. So Eastern Washington is kind of a dry desert, while Western Washington is famous for being rainy. Most people outside of Washington State don't even hear about Eastern Washington and how different it is. It's nothing like Seattle over here. Also, the politics over here are quite different. It really is like two different states in one. I feel really lucky to have a tiny bit of solitude here. There was 5 or 6 cars at the trailhead and I couldn't even use the toilet because there was a long line. But I seem to have gotten out ahead of those crowds. But by this afternoon, when I'm done with this hike, there's going to be lots of people on this trail. This must be the Cowiche River, if I'm pronouncing it right. It's flowing fast and high. I guess it's getting some snow melt from somewhere. Here's some cool looking rocks. Most of the rock around here is basalt, but this is in layers. We've even got a little scree here. And let's see, I think, yeah, I've got some Oregon grapes down here. Early morning jogger, although it's not that early. Lining the trail here we have sagebrush, which I don't think is even related to culinary sage, but it does have a really strong smell. And I love that smell because it just reminds me of opening day fishing season in Eastern Washington when I was a child. We used to go to spring lakes. I'm not sure what this means. I took a bypass? Maybe this is for horse riders. I don't know. I came from that way though. Not sure where else you would go down here in this canyon. Okay, here we go. Here's the Uplands Trail. That takes you up there. And I'm sure it's pretty up there too, but I like it down here in this canyon. I'm going to stay down here for the most part today. Here's another bridge, and it looks like the person up there is coming down from the Upland Trail. There's some really cool looking pillow basalt up there. That's what happens when the lava is extruded under the water, which is actually how the Olympics were made. The Olympics were made from undersea volcanoes, and then the volcanoes are gone, but the lava that spewed out of them in the form of pillow basalt mostly got pushed into the continental crust to make the Olympic mountains. So the Olympic mountains are made out of volcanic material, but they're not volcanic themselves. You can see a lot of yellow nitrogen loving lichens on the distant cliff faces. That could mean that there's a lot of birds pooping there. I can hear birds up there. They probably nest there. The cool thing about eastern Washington is that it's not all covered with trees and vegetation, so you can actually see the geology. Unlike western Washington, where everything's covered, you can't see these really cool rock formations. Here's some neat pieces of columnar basalt that were placed here, probably for use as benches. I love columnar basalt. It's so cool looking. Cheers from Cowiche Canyon. How cool is this rock tunnel? We've got some moss here, which I believe is a Racometrium. It's got to be a really tough moss to grow in a dry environment like this. Could be wrong, it could be Grimmia too, but I think it's Racometrium. Here's a cool lichen, and iNaturalist identified it for me. It's Ruscavia elegans. Here's a cool flower I'm not familiar with, but iNaturalist ID'd it as grass widow. Gorgeous desert flower blooming in the spring. Even though it's a Sunday and this trail is close to a big metropolitan area, well, I think Yakima's kind of big, right? It's not too terribly crowded. It'll be fun to come here in the snow, maybe. We've made it to the other end of the trail. We started at the east trailhead. My internet access down in the canyon was pretty limited, but I got a message from my dad while I was in the canyon saying that my stepmom went to the hospital. And so we're having a little bit of a family emergency. I'm not real close with my dad or my stepmom, otherwise I'd just drop everything and go rushing over there to the hospital where they're at in Wenatchee, because I'm in Yakima now. But I don't even know if they would appreciate my company, honestly. That's how strained our relations have been over the years. So, not sure what I'm going to do, but I don't really feel like going up to the winery and having a glass of wine at this point. But I might anyway. Maybe I really need a glass of wine now. Anyway, for now we're headed to this end of the trailhead and that little tan colored building right there. There's a bird of prey soaring overhead. I've decided to leave the main trail and take this little side trail called the Teton Andesite Trail. This is going to get us up into the highlands to see some different scenery. We've popped up out of the canyon. Look at that house there. It must have an amazing view. I can see wineries up there. I'm getting pretty out of breath because even though this isn't really very high elevation, I live at sea level. So any rise in elevation above sea level, and I feel it. Hopefully just up there is the top of this. There's a lot of flowers blooming here. Here's these pretty white flowers, more of these purple flowers, more of these yellow flowers. And the views are really opening up. I think this route's going to be maybe a mile longer than if I had taken the same route. But that's fine with me. It was kind of a short hike otherwise. And it's cool to get up here in the uplands. And there's a lot less people up here too. It's good to escape to the desert in the winter when you're a rainforest dweller. So I think we're going to take this south rim trail here and stay to the left because that should be shorter than going up to the right. I might be in risk of being sunburned here. And since it's March, I don't have any sunscreen. The sun's up pretty high in the sky for March, I guess. Here's a new to me flower. According to Seek, it's a yellow fritillary. I don't have the scientific name. I love Seek for identifying plants, but I wish there was an option to see both the scientific name and the common name at the same time when you first ID a species. Here's some Letharia Vulpina, aka the wolf lichen. We don't see that very often in western Washington. I used to think we didn't see it at all there, but I have found it a few times. It's called the wolf lichen because it was used to poison wolves. I won't go into the details though, they're pretty horrible. Down there you can see the Cowiche, which I'm probably pronouncing wrong, Cowiche Canyon Trail that we were just on. Apparently we've picked a trail that's going to go up and down a bit, this rim trail. I guess that's good. I need some exercise. Look at that beautiful pillow basalt up there. We're closer to it up here. What amazing wide open country. I need to come here more often. The wildflowers are going crazy up here. Definitely came at the right time of year. According to Seek, this is a bulbous woodland star. And down here we've got some really cool little violets. Wow. Definitely getting to see lots of cool new to me flowers up here today. I guess spring has come a little bit early here this year. I can hear people, but I'm not sure where they're at. They might be down in the canyon or they might be on the trail behind me. Not sure. Over there on the other side you can see the Winery Trail, and I see some people walking up there. Because I came up this trail, it looks like I'm going to miss the Winery Trail, which is fine. I think there is a winery straight ahead up here somewhere too, though. I see some thing up there. It looks like maybe it's farmland. Last time I came here I had a glass of wine and then felt a little bit anxious about trying to hike back down into the canyon while I was tipsy. Maybe it's just best to avoid having that glass of wine this time. We made it to a crossroads. If I go that way I end up at the trailhead of the East Uplands Trail, and if I go this way I make it back down to the canyon trail. So that's the way I'm going to go because that's the way I came. That's where my car is. It's funny country, you can see everyone on the trail for miles away. There went a trail runner. I don't think I've ever once encountered a trail runner while I was out hiking without having my startle reflex engaged, including this time. Anyway, back down into the canyon we go. unless I find a nice place to have lunch up here. We are almost back down into the canyon. You can see a lot of people on the bridge down there. This hike's going to end up being close to 7 miles by the time I'm done. We've made it back to the car, had a good hike, went 8 miles. I'm really happy I made that loop that went up high, even if the main reason I did it was so I could have cell phone service during an emerging family emergency. But I'm back to the car now, so I'm going to end this video and probably drive to Wenatchee as quickly as I can. Looks like maybe my stepmother is going to be having surgery. She's got a hematoma on her aorta. That sounds pretty bad. Anyway, thank you for watching.